Hello, hello, everyone. Jamie here. I am live. Well, depending on when you're watching me, I'm live. If you're watching this later, I'm not live, but today is Thursday, the 22nd of June, which is strange because when I used to do lives all the time, I used to always do them on Wednesdays, but here I am on a Thursday. I don't honestly know what day it is though, because we're in June and it's summer over here in the troll household. I don't know about y'all, but I'm just trying to stay above water. I'm just treading water. My kids are both thankfully at camp today. Yay. So I can actually get some work done. And I wanted to come here and chat with y'all because, first of all, I miss you. I miss getting to have live conversations. Most of my content these days is being put onto YouTube. So if you're not following me over there, make sure that you do. But I do miss kind of getting to interact with, the financial literacy for women business owners group. If you're watching me over there, say hi. I miss interacting live on YouTube as well. So if you're watching me over there, hello. But I miss this live interaction. I'm in an office all day by myself and I don't ever get to talk to anybody. And now with just recording videos, I'm literally just talking to no one. So I'm excited to be back and be live. Tell me you're here if you're here, because I want to make sure that I can see all of your comments. And today we're going to be talking about hiring your kids. Okay, I see my team at least. Crystal's here, my fabulous, fabulous content manager. April, hey April, how you doing? I love your new picture up there. So cute. Hey, hey. Now make sure, I know if you've done it in the past, if you're watching me in the Facebook group for whatever reason, you have to let StreamYard see your name, which there should be above me somewhere in the description, a link. Crystal will also post it because I can't see y'all's names right now. So even if you've done it before, if you give permission to StreamYard to see your name, then I will be able to see who you are because I want to know who I'm talking to. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about hiring your kids. Why are we talking about this? Well, we're talking about this partially because it's summer and it's a great time to hire your kids if you're going to. So that's why I wanted to really be putting out a lot of content around this. I have hired my son for the first time. He is 9 years old and he is working very, very, very part-time in my business, but it has actually been a really great experience. And as I went through the process of hiring him, I even had a lot of questions myself, and I'm a CPA. So I had a lot of questions about just what do I need to have in place? How do I do this right? How do I handle it depending on my entity type? Because I personally am an S Corp and it gets a little bit more complicated when you are an S Corp. I really wanted to dig into the labor laws and make sure I understood what we could and couldn't do. And so because I had done all that work myself to prepare for hiring my son, I figured, well, this is a great thing to share with other people too, because I think this is a massive, amazing tax savings strategy, and not only a tax savings strategy. Okay. So that's probably like number one. You can shift income from your higher tax bracket to your child's lower, or if you do it right, oftentimes zero tax bracket, which is great. But not only that, it's great for kind of bonding with your kid, having them learn about what you do. Obviously, we're not talking about, cheap labor here. This isn't about, like sweatshops or anything like that. But it is about getting to spend time with your kid, allowing them to have some responsibility, to learn a little bit about what you do. And again, during the summer, it's been great for my son Miles and I to really connect and have conversations that we wouldn't have otherwise had. So I highly recommend it. And the other offshoot and why this is so, so great and something that I am doing is you can also help set your kid up for their financial future. And the biggest way to do that, there are lots of ways. I mean, even just them making an income and figuring out how to manage it on their own and things like that is going to be really helpful to them. But if you want to even take this to another level, by your child having earned income, which they normally couldn't get, especially if they are under, 16 or 14, depending on, which rules you're looking at. But typically minors, like my 9-year-old, I normally couldn't have earned income because he can't actually legally work unless he's working for my business because it's wholly owned by me, which is an exception to the child labor laws. Okay. So he can work for me and he can make earned income and he can contribute then to a Roth IRA that I would be helping him manage, of course, right? But he could contribute to a Roth IRA because he's got earned income, because you normally can't do that. And that Roth IRA can then grow over time to turn into millions of dollars. I kid you not, like a few $1,000s even a year by the time your child retires, even that money just going directly into the market can be upwards of $1 million. So if you want to be the best parent ever, like that's the extra, bonus strategy is to open that Roth IRA, which I highly recommend. But that's one of the reasons I love being able to employ your kids at any age. And that's kind of some of the questions we're going to get into here. Is about, when can I employ my kid? How do I know how to do it right? We're going to talk all about that here today. Okay, I see you now, Amy. Hey, Amy, how's it going? Yes, this is absolutely recorded. You can come back anytime and rewatch this on Facebook, in the Facebook group, or on my YouTube channel. Okay, so let me jump in and tell you also the impetus of doing this as a live. So I've been doing some content over on YouTube that goes more in depth. We talked last week about the myths of hiring your kids. We'll talk a little bit about that today, but if you want to know more, go watch that video on YouTube. Just search for Jamie Trull on YouTube and you will find it. And I'm also putting out a video that is coming out next week that will go more into hiring your kid if you're an S Corp. So it's going to give you a little bit more specifics on that because it is a little bit different, but definitely still doable. I love this. I've missed y'all too. I have missed you guys. But part of the impetus of this too was a thread that I put in this very Facebook group. And it surprisingly got a ton of questions and things like that. So we asked this question, right? We asked this question, what questions do you have when it comes to hiring your kids in your small business? And boy, y'all had some questions. So we're over 128 comments at this point in time. So this got a lot of engagement over there, which showed me that this is something a lot of people are interested in doing. And again, when we talk about hiring your kids, a lot of people might just write that off and think, oh, my kid's too young, or, oh, that's not right for my type of business. But I will tell you, your kid can probably do something in your business and get paid for it. And even young kids, again, my child is 9 and I'm able to pay him a real job. He's working a real job. That's critical. They do need to actually work in your business. I'm not a fan of tax loopholes or, trying to do anything shady at all. I'm extremely conservative when it comes to the tax strategies that I employ, but this is one that is fully above board. The IRS is fully on board with. They have lots of language around why this is okay, and sometimes even encouraged. Okay. I love this. I know, right? I know. Like maybe that'll be the next iteration where you can pay your animal because, my dog is currently asleep at my feet and he is comforting me all day. And I feel like I feel like I should at least be able to deduct his expenses. Unfortunately, I can't make the now you probably could, Amy, but I cannot make that leap because he doesn't unfortunately actually do anything, but don't tell him that. Okay. So let's talk about some of these questions that we got. And I'll start, I'm going to come down here and I tried to kind of, if you want to read more, go find this. It's featured at the top of the group. But if we come in here, let's see. I'm going to look for one of the more general questions. So there were some questions around like, when does this make sense revenue wise? Well, this is not like becoming an S Corp where there is like a profit, once you hit this amount of profit, it's going to make sense, right? Ultimately, if you're profitable and you're paying taxes on the money that you are making, right? If you have a tax rate that is not 0, it probably could make sense to do this, right? If you have a kid that can do something in your business, ultimately, the tax goal of this is to shift income from your tax rate down to your child's tax rate, which in most cases is going to be 0, especially if you're paying them under the standard deduction. Now, if you're paying them for a full-time job, it would be different. But if you're paying them under $13,850 a year, and that's their total income for the year, there will be 0% in federal taxes. And if you set it up correctly, you also won't have Social Security, Medicare, or unemployment taxes if they are under 18. Okay, so that's something to keep in mind. And Crystal has shared the thread and where you can find this and read through some of this because we're not going to go over all the questions, but I wanted to pick some of these out. So this really can work for anybody. And again, a lot of questions were about how old do they have to be? I'm looking for where that one is. Let's see, do they have to be minors living at home? So they could be any age. So this applies to kids of any age. Now, if you're wondering, okay, but like what about a baby? Actually, I could see the case for it. And if it's a baby, obviously, or a toddler or something like that, the main thing you could do with them is if you are using them in advertising, if you are using their likeness in advertising, right? If they are being featured on your social media, that is something that they're modeling for your business. And so you could go out and look and see, okay, well, if I booked my child a modeling shoot for some other company, like what would that pay rate be? And you could pay them something similar to that. My son has been showing up on YouTube. If you're following me on YouTube, we've done some YouTube content together. We're doing some short form content for our other social media. So he has been heavily involved in that, and I'm paying him for that. So that is real. That is completely fine. That is completely above board. You do want to make sure that you're paying them what you would pay somebody else of a similar background, I guess, a similar skill level to do that job, but you do want to make sure that they are doing the job and that you're documenting it well. Okay. And now I've gotten a lot of questions about, does this work for older kids? Well, yeah, older kids, if they're over 20, if you've got 25, 30-year-old kids, you can always employ them in your business. They're going to be treated like any other employee, though. There really aren't going to be exemptions or anything that you will be able to get for that, but you can absolutely still employ them in your business. But there are some benefits for employing children under the age of 21, and the biggest benefits are under the age of 18. Okay. Let's see. I want to see Yuri's question. Yuri says, one of our businesses is a landscaping business. Our son is 17, working full-time this summer, and I have him on my payroll, but he still has taxes and stuff taking out. Am I doing something wrong? Here's my question, Yuri. What type of entity are you? Are you a LLC? Have you elected S Corp treatment? Are you C Corporation? That's going to dictate this, because there are, some things to keep in mind with regards to this. Also, with income taxes, so again, when you're withholding taxes, right, there are income taxes, Social Security, Medicare, unemployment, all of those taxes. Income taxes are going to be due no matter what. However, again, if you're paying them less than $13,850, even if they paid in, even if they're withholding income taxes, maybe it's a summer job, and so your payroll company thinks that they're going to be making $30,000 this year, so they're withholding taxes, but they're really only working the summer. They're going to get all of that back, and you can actually override if you don't want it to withhold any taxes at all. Okay, you're a corporation. So I need you to go to jamietrell.com. I'm going to talk about this later, but jamietrell.com/kids, because for you, if you're hiring them directly through your corporation, you're not getting the full tax benefits that you could if you were to hire them through what's called a separate family management company, which sounds complicated, but it really isn't if you know what to do. So I'll back up here a minute, because I think that this is an important question. I'm going to take this down for now, because it is different depending on the entity type that you are. Hang on just a second. How do I unshare? Stop share. Okay. So depending on your entity type. All right. Let's first talk to my sole proprietors and my LLCs, my non-corporations. You have not elected S Corp treatment. You're not a C corporation, or you're a partnership that's wholly owned by the parents. Okay. If you are any of those things, you are the lucky ones in this instance specifically, because you can employ your child directly. Okay. So you can employ your child directly. And when you do that, and in this case, I'm going to be talking mainly about minor children, so under 18. The rules kind of change as the ages change, but under 18. And let's say you're paying them under $13,850, right? So your child is exempt from, again, LLC, sole proprietor. If you pay them directly, they're exempt from Social Security, Medicare, and unemployment taxes. That is written in the IRS rules if they are working for a family business. Okay. But it has to be a sole proprietor or LLC that is not elected tax treatment, or a partnership that's wholly owned. Okay. So it's easier for y'all. You could just put them on payroll. If you have other employees, you just put them on payroll with your other employees. If you don't have other employees, you get a payroll system. I have some suggestions for really cost-effective payroll solutions, because if you're only employing your kid, you don't want to pay a lot for payroll, obviously. And you don't need all the bells and whistles. You just want to have a payroll system so that you can issue them a W-2, so that you can follow all the rules and get to deduct that, and they would have proof of their income. Now, and I will tell you, Yuri, also my video that comes out next Tuesday on YouTube is going to go more into depth on this. I don't want to derail the conversation too much, but if you are an S Corp, C Corporation, or you're in any kind of business that's owned by, you have multiple owners, maybe it's a multi-member LLC and you are not the only owner, and you or your spouse are not the only owners, you have other owners, then what you would want to do, like, you don't get those exemptions. You can still hire your child, but you're going to have to pay Social Security, Medicare, and unemployment taxes. Okay, so Social Security, Medicare are 15.3%. When you're talking about unemployment, it's not that much. A couple $100 usually is where it maxes out. But ultimately, you're paying an extra, over 15% when you are employing them directly through your corporation. So you can do it, and if that's what you're doing, that's fine. But if you were to take the extra step and set up another sole proprietor or LLC that is your family management company, and that management company, then basically the only thing they do is pay your kid, right? Like, they're responsible for managing your kid. It's wholly owned by you, right? And that business is what tracks the work your kid is doing. And that business is what actually pays your kid and then invoices your corporation for that amount. Okay. So you can invoice your corporation. Your corporation will pay the amount, like basically reimburse you. So that family management company, essentially, there's zero profit in it. It's just kind of a pass-through company. Again, this sounds shady. It's not shady at all. This is a very common tax strategy. This is not kind of an out of left field tax strategy that's going to get you into trouble. If you do this correctly, it's totally above board and totally legal and totally fine. But it allows you to pay them through a sole proprietor or LLC and get the benefit where you are paying them through a LLC or sole proprietor that is wholly owned by you as a parent, and therefore there are no Social Security, Medicare, or unemployment taxes that you would have to pay for them. So you're saving about 15%. So let's really quickly, I want to run through the numbers because I think that this is helpful. And I did this in my video for next week. But let's say you are paying your kid, like we're going to go through 3 different scenarios. Okay. Scenario A, you just let, all that amount flow through as profit into your business. So you're not paying your kids for the work that they're doing, or maybe you're paying them, but you're paying them, you give them a couple bucks here and there of cash that you're not writing off and, whatever. So all of that money is flowing through to your business. And let's say we're going to look at $13,850 because, again, that's the standard deduction for 2023 that's completely income tax free. Okay. So if that money were to flow through your business, though, right, it wouldn't be income tax free. It would be added to your profit. So let's say, depending on the type of business you are, let's say you've got all of the taxes on that. You've got income taxes, you've got, your FICA taxes, all that you're going to pay, depending on your effective tax rate, probably about $5,000 to $6,000 on that $13,850 in taxes. Okay. You're going to pay a decent amount. And again, this is income taxes and all the other taxes. That's if you don't pay your kid that money. If you pay your kid that money, let's say you pay them $13,850 for work they are actually doing in your business that you have documented well, y'all, okay? Let's say you pay them that $13,850, but maybe you're a corporation and you pay them directly through your corporation. Well, now you're going to not be paying income taxes, but you're still going to have that 15.3% for their FICA taxes. So now you're paying about $2,500 in taxes. So you've still saved about half by moving that income to them, right? That's what I'm talking about with moving your income to a lower tax bracket. Remember, your kid's income doesn't get rolled into your tax return. They have their own, and a lot of times they won't even have to file one if they're under certain thresholds, okay? So your kid's income, when you move it to them, you don't have to pay taxes on that, and oftentimes they don't have to pay taxes on that if you do it right. Okay, now, scenario 3. Let's say that you set up a family management company. Again, this is for my corporations or businesses that aren't fully owned by parents. Let's say you set up a family management company and pay them directly through that. Now, and it's 13,850. You're staying within that standard deduction. Now you don't have income taxes. You don't have Social Security. You don't have Medicare. You don't have unemployment, all if they're under 18. $0 in taxes. So you went from paying $5,000 to $6,000 in taxes to paying $0 in taxes. You're saving that amount of money by shifting that income. And oh, by the way, then if you want to, you can take up to $6,500 of the money that you paid them and put it into a Roth IRA for them, let it grow over the years and end up being a giant nest egg by the time that they retire with over $1 million from just a couple of years of working with their parents. I promise you it works. I can show you the calculator here in a minute if I can find it. So that's the power of hiring your kids. Okay, that's the tax power. There's a lot of savings that are available there, but also then being able to take that and really turbocharge their financial future is huge. I really recommend if people go the route of setting all of this up, hiring their kids, getting those tax savings, I highly recommend at least putting a portion of that into a Roth IRA for them, because that's going to grow. It's going to go in tax-free. Normally you pay taxes on money you put into the Roth IRA. Well, they're going to be at a 0% tax rate. So they get the ability to put money into a Roth IRA, paying zero taxes. And all of that money will grow until retirement with zero taxes, because that's the benefit of a Roth. A Roth is amazing at a young age. I started when I was 17, and that Roth has grown. I haven't contributed to it in a while because I have other retirement accounts now, but that Roth has grown exponentially compared to the amount that I put into it. It is incredible to see. It is incredible to see. Yes, that too. For my kids, it's Roblox. Like Miles loves his Roblox. So that's, yes, this gives him something else to do during the summer that's a little bit more productive. Okay. All right. What other questions do y'all have? I know this is like such an overview right now, and that's really what I want to give. But there are some ins and outs. So you want to do this the correct way. Some of the keys to hiring your kids are to, again, make sure that you are setting an appropriate salary. You can pay them by hour. You can pay them by project. You can pay them any number of those if they're doing multiple different things in your business. The key is just to be able to document it and show how you are calculating out what their paycheck is. So I do recommend paying them through Payroll. That is best practice. You're going to get a W-2 for them. You're going to have, all of this done for you that you don't have to worry about. Okay. So Gusto will do this. I know April, I know, you know, Gusto. Gusto will do this. I have been onboarding my son onto Roll by ADP because it's a little bit cheaper. And it's all via an app. So it's really pretty interesting. I've just been having this chat, right? Like this is how I have onboarded him, where it just will ask me questions about him. I fill it out on my phone and it's super easy. And it's great because I don't need benefits for him or anything like that, right? Let's see. Oh, this is a great question. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. And in the toolkit that I have, I show you how to do that to make it really easy. It's going to be a zero net profit typically. So it's just going to be a pass through, but you do need to file that. Yes. And no, it's actually easier if it's not an S corp because you don't have to deal with setting up the family management company to get the benefits. So it's actually easier for you to do if you're an LLC sole proprietor. That's the easiest, but you can still do it if you're an S corp or a C corp. Yeah. Gusto is amazing. They can do it. And it's just, so there are some like best practices for how you go to set it up. But you can absolutely pay your kids through this. And what you need to do, and this is the key. Okay. This is the key. So you'll want to determine which taxes your kid is exempt from. And again, that's something that I help you with in the toolkit that we're just pre-selling right now, but you want to know which taxes you're exempt from. And then you should be able to tell any payroll provider, right, that you want to exempt them from those tax withholdings. Okay. So if you know you're not going to be, your kid's going to be not making over $13,850, you can exempt them from income tax withholding. If they're under 18 and don't need to pay Social Security, Medicare because they're working for your sole proprietor LLC business or family management company, right? you can tell your payroll company to exempt them from those withholdings. If you don't, it's fine. They're going to withhold taxes. And then come tax time, you're going to have to file a tax return and get that money back. So you're still going to get it back either way, but you want to make sure that you are aware that they are exempt from these things if they are a child in your business. Yay! I love it. So we started the pre-sale for the toolkit yesterday. Really quickly, let me find. Let's see. Let me find the. Here, let me show you one thing because I think this is a really interesting. Just to show you on the IRS website. This might be really small. But on the IRS website, it specifically talks about, let me make this a little bit bigger for you. Children employed by their parents. So if anybody is worried about this, because every time I see it on social media, it always is interesting. I read through the comments because anytime somebody does a TikTok video about hiring your kids, somebody's like, that's against child labor laws. You can't do that. You're going to get arrested, right? Here it is in black and white on the IRS website, just to show you the IRS is totally aware and fine with this. Children employed by their parents. If the business is a parent's sole proprietorship or a partnership in which each partner is the parent of a child, payments for the services of a child are subject to income tax withholding. Again, remember though, if you're paying them under the standard deduction, there's a 0% tax bracket. So, and payments for the services of a child under age 18 are not subject to Social Security and Medicare taxes. It says it right here. If the child is 18 years or older, then they will be subject to those. And under 21, they're not subject to federal unemployment taxes. Okay. So this is, again, sole proprietorship or partnership. That also means an LLC that is not a corporation. Here's the section for a corporation. It says for a corporation or partnership, payments for the services are subject to income tax withholding, Social Security taxes, Medicare taxes, and FUTA. But remember, if you set up that family management company and you do it correctly, you can still get the tax benefits that you would if you were a sole proprietor or an LLC. So that's why you want to take that extra step. I saw yours come through this morning and I was like, oh, hey, Stephanie. Okay. And then the other thing I'm just going to show you real quick, just to like dissuade any, because you do want to do your research here. You don't want to take tax advice off of TikTok, let me tell you. But I actually agree with some of it as long as you're actually having your kid work in your business. Here's the child labor law. So this is the Department of Labor website, right? So if you're worried about, I can't employ my 6-year-old because it's against child labor laws. So complete child labor law exemptions. The FLSA provides for certain exemptions. Youth younger than 16 years of age working in non-agricultural employment, in a business solely owned by their parents or by persons standing in place of their parents. That's another question I got a lot is, I'm a stepmom, I'm a stepdad, or I'm a grandparent that raises my kid, right? Can I do this? And yes, if you are considered standing in place of. So I'll click on that in a minute to see what it is, but you really kind of need to be one of the ones raising the kid. They're probably living with you at least for a period of time, right? In terms of you're functioning as their parent, right? And it says they may work any time of day and for any number of hours. Okay. So they're exempt. However, you still can't put them into things that are dangerous, right? So there's hazardous, occupations. You can't be having them work on an assembly line. Like all of that still applies, but you can have them work in your business. That is totally fine at any age. Yeah. I've got a TikTok, y'all. Come follow me over there. I have like no followers. I just started it recently. I stayed off of it for a long time and then finally was like, okay. And the real reason that I wanted to be on it was to basically combat some of the terrible, terrible information that is all over TikTok, specifically related to tax advice. Be careful, be careful, be careful. Just saying, be careful. Okay. All right. Let's see. Okay. So what other questions do we have? I'm going to pull up the toolkit really quickly so we can show you what's in it. The toolkit isn't necessarily a course. Okay. So that is an interesting thing. The toolkit is not necessarily a course. There are some video lessons, but it's really a kit that has all the things that you're going to need. It's got guides and checklists and work activity logs to make sure that you're tracking everything. It's got contract templates. And all of that to make sure that you're doing everything the right way, right? And you're not going to get in trouble. Okay, do we still qualify for the child tax credit if they are employees? So a lot of people worry that they're not going to be able to claim their child as a dependent or anything like that if they're an employee. Totally fine. That doesn't impact it other than, so to claim your child as a dependent means that you are providing more than 50% of their kind of living expenses, right? So housing, food, all of that. So if you're paying your kid, right now, if you're paying them a lot, then that could impact it. If they are mostly paying for their living expenses, then that could make it such that, yeah, you couldn't take them as a dependent. But in most cases, if you're paying your kid, like again, I'm paying my kid, but I'm still providing the groceries and the house. He's not paying part of the mortgage, right? Like I am still responsible for the majority of the cost of raising him. And therefore, he's definitely still a dependent of mine. So it's not one of those things. How best to record the child's tasks and working hours? Well, I have a template that helps you do that. So the key is to document what the tasks are, right? Like what are they doing in the business? How did you come up with the salary? Right? And to record when they worked, how much they worked, the pay rate that you're paying them. Again, it can be different. So when my kid is working like on more administrative tasks, I pay him on an hourly basis. When he does things like come and does a YouTube video or does social media stuff with me, then I pay him on a project basis because that's kind of a typical way. So I have a way to track all of that and add it all up so that you can calculate what you can pay your kid, and you have that documentation that is there and is, ironclad if you are ever to, get the IRS knocking on your door. And this isn't one of those things, a lot of people think this is an IRS red flag. It definitely isn't. Again, it's very normal for people to employ their kids within their business. So let me show you just real quick. I need to unstop share. Okay. So right now we're doing a pre-sale. It's half off. Okay. So it's not going to last long. We're only selling up to 200 or as many as we sell by next Thursday. So once we sell 200, it's going away, or by next Thursday, the deal is going away. This is the pre-sale because you won't get it right away. You'll get it by June 30th. So you'll get it within the next 8 days. We're just finishing up, putting the finishing touches on the toolkit itself. Let me zoom in a little bit. So depending on when you're watching this deal might not be in place anymore, but we wanted to do for our first people that were most excited to jump in and do this toolkit. We are doing a pre-sale for it this time, which I'm really excited about. And we've had lots of people jump in already. We just announced it, very limited basis yesterday to some people. And now we're announcing it to more of our audience today. So let me show you what's in it. So we've got a Hiring Your Kids checklist. I love checklists. I think they're really helpful. So it's going to walk you step by step to make sure you don't miss anything. And there's even little steps in here that I almost missed. So again, I made this checklist as I was doing this myself. So there are little things that you don't want to miss. Then we have a tax savings cheat sheet. So this is really going to get into how you save on taxes, more of the details, where you want to make sure that you do it correctly again, because even just taking the step to hire them in your S Corp without setting up that family management company, like I was talking about with Yuri, right? That could be thousands of dollars in tax savings missed out on just by missing that one little step. So we want to make sure everybody does this the best way possible to optimize your tax savings. Guide to setting up a family management company. Again, that's for my S Corps, my C Corps, and those who have a business with multiple partners where it's not wholly owned by the parents and you still want the best tax benefits. That's where a full guide on how to set that up. Paying your child guide. So that's actually going to be in here. What are some simple tasks that kids can do for consulting engineering business? Okay, there's a lot of brainstorming that I have within these, including in this paying your child guide about what types of things could they do. So I would think about it, come off of this and think about like, what could my kid do in my business? But I know for me, again, social media, huge. That's easy. That's easy. And you can pay them higher rates than you would like hourly, right? So if you're hiring them in your business, maybe it's $12 to $15 hourly that you'd pay them for admin work or cleaning up your office or, stuffing envelopes is like the old school thing that, as kids used to do. But there are lots of little things you can probably do, and it's going to be dependent on their ages. As they get older, they can do more like social media management maybe, or they can design. My son is literally learning Canva right now. Now he's nowhere near the skills of Crystal on my team, but eventually he may be able to help with some of that as well. So, you'd be surprised as to what they can learn and what they can do if if you really lean into the things that they're interested in. If you're in a pet services business, right? Like we were talking a little bit earlier that, in a pet services business, like Amy and I were talking about, you could have them walk the dogs or feed the dogs. That's a great thing to pay them for, right? Yeah, shredding. Now, cleaning the house would not technically count. Cleaning, if it's a home office, yes, you could pay them for that. But cleaning your house, unfortunately, is not being an employee of your business. So they do need to be an employee specifically of your business. Yes, shredding papers, scanning documents, all the things. I mean, there are so many things. There's so many ideas out there. I would get creative, but we have a lot more ideas in this guide too. And this will tell you how to set up payroll, which payrolls to go with. Again, I usually like Roll by ADP. That's what I'm using. It's the cheapest and it's super easy to do because I can do it all on my phone and I don't need all the crazy bells and whistles. We also have the child tax requirements calculator, which is going to tell you whether you need to file a tax return for them, what needs to be filed depending on their age and how much they make. So that's really helpful to keep you in compliance, no more guesswork. Roth IRA calculator, aka the Making Your Child a Millionaire calculator. Y'all, this is my favorite. If you play around with this, you are going to be shocked, absolutely shocked at what the time value of money can do. And if you are a person that wishes you knew more about money and had started earlier, you can do it for your kid. Like I cannot be more of a proponent of this because putting in just a few $1,000s a year, starting at maybe when they're like 10 or 12 years old until they're 18, you would be absolutely shocked at how much money that can turn into when they retire. And you can borrow from it if they need to. They can take it out tax-free to pay for college as well now. So I absolutely love it. And then your work activity log. This is to make sure that you are keeping in compliance, that you have everything buttoned up, that if anybody comes and says, oh, we want to see the records of your kid working for you, you can say, here you go. And they'll be like, oh, okay. Most people don't have this. And the bonuses, the contracts. I had to throw in some contracts because it is important to, again, have this buttoned up. A lot of people do this really informally and they're missing tax benefits or they're opening themselves up for audit potentially. And I don't want that for you. I want it to be fully buttoned up, fully above board, right? Without having to pay, thousands of dollars to an accountant to set this up for you. We have a family employment contract template. Everybody should have an employment contract with their kid. Like, what are they going to be doing? What are they going to be paid? All of those things. They need to be an official employee. And if you're setting up a family management company, you will need to set up that contract with your family management company and your S Corp or C Corp, right? So you need a contract between them about how they're going to pay your kid and how they're going to invoice that to the company and all of that. So you want to make sure you have all of that in writing and done and dusted. When you purchase this toolkit, could it be deducted from your income for your business as well? Absolutely. Everything that I have is for business owners, made for business owners, made to be deductions for business owners. So absolutely, if you purchase this toolkit, you could write it off as well. So you're going to get tax savings on that too. Yay, rah. We like tax savings. So again, if you're thinking about this, if you think in the future you might want to do this, like even if you're maybe not there now, but you want to, have the tools there, this is the time to buy it. This is the time to buy it. It's not going to be at this price. Like this, our normal price is $4.99. Right now we're selling it for half off, $2.49. Because we want to get as many people in as possible. I feel really strongly about this as a tax strategy. And that's why I've been talking about it so much. And again, like I've just really enjoyed it. If you guys want to go watch my video, I had a video a couple weeks ago where Miles came on my YouTube channel and taught kids about financial literacy. So if you're going to hire them, then you can have them watch that video, which is basically just a conversation about finances, the things you can do with money, money management. If you're wondering how to talk to your kids about money, this is a great opportunity to do that at any age. Okay. Obviously you want to do it in an age appropriate way, but at any age. Let's see. Yes, I love it. I love it. Yeah. The greatest asset kids have is time on their side. Because y'all are here, I know this is long. I'm going to see if I can find the Making Your Child a Millionaire calculator, just because I want to show you the power that comes in really being able to invest early for your kids. It is tremendous. My son, like, now he knows all about compound interest because I showed him at one point a table from one of the books I was reading that showed, like, if you put in this much and you start early, right? Just starting a couple years early can make a massive difference. Massive difference. Compound interest is my favorite thing in the world. Yes. Hey, Marnie. Okay, hang on. Let me see if I can find it. Where is it? I should have pulled it up beforehand. This is what happens. And then I'm like, uh-oh. All right, hang on. I'm going to search my Google Drive. Let's see if I can find it. One second. Hold, please. Here we go. Here we go. Maybe. I'm going to pull it up for you. All right. Can you see this? This is tiny too. I know. How do I blow this up? All right. So we're just going to do this because y'all are here and this is fun. All right. This is the Making Your Child a Millionaire calculator. Now, we're going to put in, I think I've already put this in, but let's say they make $13,850. You can also pay them $6,500, right? So it's basically, you can contribute up to $6,500 or the how much they make, whichever is smaller. So if you pay them $3,000 in earned income, you can put $3,000, and it doesn't have to be the same $3,000, y'all. Okay, that's key. So I'm going to be paying my kid, and I'm going to be basically matching, I guess you'd say, that money into his Roth IRA for him. So it doesn't have to be the same money. They can still get that money and use that money, right? Because if you tell your kid, hey, I'm paying you, but you're not going to get this until you're 65, they're probably not going to be very happy. So you can do it however you want to, but I, for one, am going to be matching it for my kid and putting in their IRA. So if you pay them $6,500 or more, you can max it out at $6,500. So let's say you decide to do that. This is going to tell you what your max contribution is, what you can put in their current age. I just have 9 right now because my kid is 9, but you can put whatever age your kid is, and your Roth contribution, which is going to pull in, and the number of years to contribute. So I will probably keep my kid working for me at least, a few hours a week or so until he's 18. So let's say I am contributing that $6,500 until he's 18. I will have put in at that point $58,500 for the kid over a 9-year period. Okay. Now, some people are going to argue with me about the expected rate of return. I anticipate that, which is why I have a chart in here showing, yes, of course, when we're looking at 2-year returns, this is the S&P 500 over the last, 100 years. So if you're looking at a 2-year return or a 5-year return, it's all over the place, right? So if you're only putting your money in for a couple of years, it could go down, it could go up, whatever. If you look over a 20, 30, or 40-year period, which, remember, we're putting this into the Roth IRA for when they retire, and they're minors right now. So the point is to keep it in there for a while. You can see that by this 30-year, 40-year average, it's pretty much always kind of 9 to 10%, 8 to 10% maybe, right? Like it's pretty standard. So when people argue like, oh, you're never going to get a 10% return. No, you can't get a guaranteed 10% return between now and 3 years from now. But over 30 to 40 years, if you just invest into the S&P 500, highly recommend, right? You will get that kind of return. So we'll put in 9% for now. Again, the numbers support it. What that's going to turn into, this is insane. Okay. When my kid retires, that's almost $5 million. Now, obviously, like, there will be inflation. So $5 million then won't be worth what $5 million is worth now, but it's still going to be a lot of money. Okay. So this is why I call this the Making Your Kid a Millionaire calculator. And it's also why I say, like, best parent ever, right? And you can tell them about this if you want to. You can not tell them about it if you don't want to, if you don't want them to know that they have this sitting there. But so it's not really a match. So no. So ultimately, it's not truly a match. And Roth IRA contributions aren't tax deductible in general. So traditional IRA is, but a Roth is what you want to do because a Roth is the one where it's going to grow tax-free. So a Roth is much better for, in my opinion, for a young person. If you're going to start something, start a Roth, especially if they have a 0% tax bracket right now. They're not going to pay taxes now or later. They will pay no taxes on anything, not on the money they put in originally, not on the earnings. But there's no extra deduction for you because essentially what you're saying is I'm putting in the money that they earned, but it doesn't have to be the same money, right? Cash is fungible. So if you want to put that money in on their behalf and let them keep the money you paid them, you can do that. Okay. Yes, I love this. I love this. Great. Oh, it's Mark. Hey, Mark. Yeah, it's huge. I mean, it just the value of this is huge. And even if you're like, let's say you're like, okay, well, I can't pay them that much. Maybe it's $3,000 that you put in, and maybe you only do it for, let's say you only do it for 5 years. Okay, so let's say you put $3,000 for 5 years, starting when they're 9. At that 9% return. It's still over $1 million, y'all. So like anything, right? Anything. Yeah, exactly. It's a personal match. So let's see, 1,000. So even if you put $1,000 for 5 years, look at what it comes out to, right? Like it's worth it to do. It's worth it to do this, to set your kids up for success. I mean, at this point, if you're putting in $1,000 for 5 years, you would have put in $5,000. $5,000. When your kid retires at age 65, that's $500,000. The immense power of time when you're talking about young children is tremendous, which is why when people are like, oh, I don't want to employ my kids, I want them to stay kids for longer. They can still stay kids. My kid is still a kid. I'm not giving him any kind of, massive responsibility, but I am teaching him some level of responsibility. He works a couple of hours, right? And he will learn to manage money. He will learn about compound interest, and I can set him up for success in life. It can include grandchildren if you were acting as a parent. Well, you can always hire your grandchildren if they're of age to be hired. The exception to the rules for child labor laws to be able to employ like a 10-year-old, right? Would be if you are acting as a parent, right? So if you are acting as a grandparent and you're not raising them, right? Then you cannot exempt them from that. They cannot work for you at young ages. But if you were acting as a parent, they could. Okay. I love this. I love that your son watched it with you. Yeah, he probably saw this is a good thing. Like if you want to show your kids the power of compound interest, this is a great calculator to show them because they will get really excited about putting money. The best thing my parents ever did for me, I will say this, the best thing my parents ever did for me when it comes to money is my father taught me that money can turn into, right? Money today is worth way more if you save it in the future than it is today. You can buy a heck of a lot more just by putting it into an index fund or something like that, right? And what it did for me was it always made it such that when I thought about spending, even at a young age, I was like, yeah, but I could spend this $100 or I could invest it and it could turn into $100,000 or whatever, right? In 50 years. And that's a weird thing for a 20-year-old to think, but it absolutely made it such that I stockpiled. I mean, money into my IRA, into other tax vehicles, into investing. I started learning about investing because I was fascinated by that ability. It just seemed like, how is this real that we can do this, right? And so when you change that value proposition between spending and not just saving, but investing and turning your money into more money, it changes the whole game for you. Now, eventually you might have to, I had to do a little unwinding to actually be able to enjoy my life a little bit. I'm just now at 40 years old. Like, okay, it's okay. I don't have to continue to invest this, but starting young is huge. When you start young, it means you can have more flexibility, enjoy life more when you're a little bit older and not just 65. Right? Like when we have built a nest egg. I started it when I was 17 and now we have tremendous flexibility with life and I highly recommend it. Anyway, okay, I've gone way longer than I planned to, but this was the live on hiring your kids. Again, I have lots more on YouTube. Go check out the pre-sale though. It will not last long. jamietroll.com/kids. I think we have several different links for it, but go find it on one of the links. I'll put up one of them. And let's see. Here we go. Yeah. And go grab it. Go grab it now while you can. Again, we're selling out. I'm not going to sell more than 200 at the pre-sale price. So it'll end either by next Thursday or earlier if we sell out. So go grab it. Y'all are amazing. I love y'all. Go hire your kids. Go talk to your kids about money. I fully recommend it. And I'll talk to you soon.